Have you ever wondered if our current education system truly prepares students for the real world? It's a question that has been discussed at length by educators, parents, and policymakers alike. The consensus? There's room for improvement. Our education system, as it stands, largely follows what Brazilian educator Paulo Freire referred to as the banking model of education. This model visualizes students as empty vessels waiting to be filled with knowledge by their teachers. It's a one-way street where information is transferred from the educator to the student with little room for questioning, dialogue, or critical thinking. What does this look like in practice? Imagine a classroom where students are seated in neat rows, diligently taking notes as the teacher talks. They're expected to absorb information, memorize it, and later reproduce it in tests and exams. The focus is on rote memorization, not on understanding or analysis. In this model, students are passive recipients, merely accepting the knowledge presented to them without questioning its validity or relevance. They're not encouraged to challenge ideas, to ask why or how, or to connect what they're learning to their own experiences or the world around them. The content of their education is often decontextualized, detached from real-world contexts and issues. This approach to education has its drawbacks. It tends to stifle creativity, limit critical thinking, and discourage active engagement with learning. It perpetuates a hierarchy where the teacher is the authoritative figure and the student a silent, submissive observer. Moreover, it doesn't adequately equip students for a world that is rapidly changing and evolving. In today's complex and interconnected world, we need individuals who can think critically, solve problems creatively, and engage meaningfully with the issues and challenges of their time. The banking model of education falls short in fostering these skills and capacities. It seems to be more focused on producing obedient workers rather than empowered citizens more concerned with maintaining the status quo than with challenging it. This brings us to an important question. Is there a better way to educate? Enter the concept of problem-posing education, a transformative approach to teaching and learning. Born from the mind of Paulo Freire, this method of education stands in stark contrast to the banking model we've grown so accustomed to. So what exactly is problem-posing education? Imagine a learning environment where dialogue and collaboration are the norm, not the exception. Instead of a one-way street where knowledge is transferred from teacher to student, envision a bustling intersection of ideas where students and teachers alike participate in the co-construction of knowledge. This is the heart of problem-posing education, a true exchange of thoughts, perspectives, and insights, but the exchange doesn't end there. Problem-posing education encourages students to think critically about the information they receive. Rather than accepting facts as they are, students are urged to question, analyze, and critique the knowledge they encounter. This approach fosters a deeper understanding of the material at hand and nurtures an innate sense of curiosity. In the world of problem-posing education, students aren't just recipients of knowledge. They're active participants in the learning process. They're encouraged to explore their own interests, to ask questions, to pursue lines of inquiry that resonate with them. This active engagement leads to a more personal, meaningful learning experience. This method of teaching and learning also seeks to empower students, giving them a voice and agency in their own education. By providing opportunities for students to express their ideas, problem-posing education challenges the existing power dynamics and encourages students to become change-makers in their own right. Lastly, problem-posing education emphasizes the importance of contextualized learning. It bridges the gap between the classroom and the real world, connecting the curriculum to the students' lived experiences and the realities of their communities. So, what makes problem-posing education different and arguably better? It's a model that promotes dialogue, fosters critical thinking, encourages active participation, empowers students, and bridges the gap between the classroom and the world outside. This is problem-posing education, a transformative approach to teaching and learning. Problem-posing education is built on several key principles that set it apart. At its core is dialogue and collaboration. Gone are the days of one-sided lectures where the teacher is the sole bearer of knowledge. Instead, problem-posing education encourages a two-way street of learning. Teachers and students engage in open discussions, sharing ideas and perspectives. This co-construction of knowledge fosters an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Next, we have critical thinking. In a problem-posing setup, students aren't just memorizing facts, they're encouraged to question, analyze, and critique the information presented to them. They're taught to dig deeper, to understand the underlying assumptions, biases, and implications of what they're learning. This emphasis on critical thinking molds them into discerning individuals, capable of making informed judgments and decisions. Then, there's active participation. No longer are students just passive recipients of knowledge. They are active participants in their own learning journey. They're encouraged to explore their interests, ask questions, and pursue meaningful lines of inquiry. This active engagement not only deepens their understanding of the subject matter, but also fosters a sense of ownership over their learning. Empowerment is another cornerstone of the problem-posing education. It seeks to give students a voice and agency in their education. It challenges existing power dynamics, providing opportunities for students to express their ideas, perspectives, and experiences. This sense of empowerment extends beyond the classroom, inspiring students to become agents of change in their communities. Lastly, problem-posing education emphasizes contextualized learning. It strives to connect the dots between what students learn and their lived experiences. By grounding lessons in real-world contexts, students can better grasp the relevance and applicability of their learning. This leads to deeper, more meaningful learning outcomes. These principles empower students to take charge of their learning and foster critical consciousness. Problem-posing education is more than just an alternative approach to the traditional banking model. It's a transformative path to teaching and learning, one that seeks to liberate students from oppressive structures and pave the way for more equitable and just societies. The benefits of problem-posing education extend beyond the classroom. Just imagine an educational landscape filled with curious, engaged students, actively participating in their learning process, questioning, analyzing, and critiquing the world around them. This is the transformative impact of problem-posing education. Problem-posing education doesn't just improve understanding, it amplifies it. By encouraging exploration and inquiry, it fosters a deeper comprehension of the subject matter. Students no longer merely memorize facts, they delve into the why and how behind those facts. This approach breeds a more holistic understanding, one that is not limited to the confines of textbooks but extends to a broader comprehension of the world. Engagement is another significant impact. In a traditional classroom, students often play a passive role, receiving knowledge rather than actively participating in its creation. In contrast, problem-posing education turns students into active participants, sparking interest and promoting a sense of ownership over their learning. This heightened engagement doesn't just make learning more enjoyable, it makes it more effective. But the impact of problem-posing education doesn't stop at understanding and engagement. It goes further, fostering the development of a critical consciousness. Students learn to look beyond the surface, to question established norms, and to challenge the status quo. This critical consciousness is not only essential for academic success, but also for active, informed participation in society. And then there's the societal impact. Problem-posing education equips students with the tools to challenge injustices and advocate for change. It empowers them to become agents of transformation in their communities and beyond. This is perhaps the most profound impact of problem-posing education. It doesn't just create better learners, it creates better citizens. In the end, problem-posing education is more than an alternative teaching method. It's a catalyst for change, a pathway to a more equitable and just society. It goes beyond teaching students what to think and instead teaches them how to think. Problem-posing education has the potential to transform not only our education system, but also our society. Imagine a world where education is a dialogue, a conversation that empowers students and promotes critical thinking. This is the potential of problem-posing education, a transformative approach that could shape the future of education. It's clear that our current educational system, often characterized by the banking model where knowledge is simply deposited into students, is in need of reform. In the face of rapid technological advances, evolving job markets, and complex global challenges, we need an educational approach that prepares students not just to memorize facts, but to think critically, solve problems, and adapt to new situations. That's where problem-posing education comes in. It's an approach that encourages active participation, fosters critical thinking, and emphasizes dialogue and collaboration. It's an approach that empowers students, giving them a voice and agency in their own education. Imagine classrooms where students and teachers engage in open discussions, co-constructing knowledge based on mutual respect and shared understanding. Imagine students exploring their own interests, asking questions, and pursuing lines of inquiry that are meaningful to them. Imagine an educational system that connects learning to real-world contexts, helping students understand the relevance and applicability of what they're learning. But problem-posing education isn't just about transforming classrooms, it's about creating more equitable and just societies. By fostering critical consciousness, problem-posing education encourages students to become agents of change, challenging oppressive structures and working towards social justice. The shift towards problem-posing education won't be easy. It requires a radical rethinking of our approach to education, a shift away from the banking model towards a more dialogical, participatory approach. But the benefits are clear: a more engaged, empowered, and critically conscious generation of learners ready to tackle the challenges of the future. The future of education lies not in depositing information, but in posing problems and fostering critical thinking. It's time to rethink our approach to education,